Now we're up to 1997. This is a rheumatology study, and it was quite large. Let's see, it had 500 patients with fibromyalgia and 152 controls. 74 were healthy, 26 had myofascial pain, and 52 had rheumatic diseases. So that's a really decent cross section. So their serum IGF-1 at the start, fibromyalgia's average was 138, and the controls were 215. That right off the bat is quite a wide range where the fibromyalgia is showing much lower. They go on to say low levels of IGF-1 were not due to depression, tricyclic medications, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, poor aerobic conditioning, obesity, or pain level. Well, they screened them pretty closely. Patients with focal myofascial pain syndrome had normal IGF-1 levels at 236, and that's above the controls. That's a decent number, as did most patients with other rheumatic disorders. And listen to this, unless they had concomitant fibromyalgia. And please listen up to this one, because this study must have gone on for a while. Patients with fibromyalgia, I wish I could talk, with initially normal levels often had a rapid decline of IGF-1 over 1 to 2 years. I mean, these people are getting sicker. And most patients with fibromyalgia with low IGF-1 levels failed to secrete growth hormone after receiving the stimulation test. And that's how they diagnose growth hormone insufficiency. And they still use clonidine as one of the tests, but that's not the only one. And they, as far as I know, don't use L-DOPA anymore. I transgress. In conclusion, many but not all patients with fibromyalgia had low levels of IGF-1 that cannot be explained by clinical association. What? They're hypopituitary. They have a hypopituitary. They're not making growth hormone. You just said so. These results suggest that low IGF-1 levels in patients with fibromyalgia are a secondary phenomenon due to hypothalamic pituitary GH axis dysfunction. Why are they calling it secondary when the proof is in the pudding? Now this gets into research bias or maybe some confirmation bias. They went looking for something and they're not recognizing the results. I'm sorry, but this is, they're not even agreeing with their own results. Okay, I won't get too excited. Moving along. This is a 2003 study done by Psychiatric. And they're talking about depression and fibromyalgia is included, and so is the HPA axis. So I am going to cover this. It's a study, atypical depression, spectrum disorder, neurobiology, and treatment. And this is about atypical depression. And then they're saying, however, epidemiologically and phenomenologically, big words, related disorders to atypical depression do exist, such as somatoform disorders. That's psychosomatic illness. That's all in your head. Chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And now it gets into the HPA axis, and this is so confusing. In this spectrum, here called the AD spectrum, instead of decrease in HPA axis, activities seem to exist. Okay, they're saying, I guess they're saying that the HPA axis is suppressed. This has similarities to Cushing's disease, where a suppression of central HPA system activity is accompanied by features of AD and somatization, and there again, that's symptoms and pain in a considerable number of patients. They don't know what they're talking about. Cushing's is your HPA axis. You have too much cortisol. Yes, it might suppress something, but that is not how you define Cushing's. And I don't know if they're saying it's high or low with in the AD spectrum. Okay, and I'll just finish off this last thought here. Opposite vegetative features. Now, isn't that just the friendliest medical term ever? This is that you're unable to cope with day-to-day living. Vegetative features. Now, they're not describing it as depression, or are they looking for an underlying cause? Okay. They're saying this opposite vegetative features might therefore be related to the opposite dysregulation of the HPA system. What are they even trying to say? It concludes, what drugs to throw at it. Please, people, and please, doctors, do your medical homework before you attach this to any living soul.